Jack Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien faces around him. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, with seats for delegates from 47 different worlds. Some looked like giant bugs. Others were made of living crystal. A few floated in tanks of green liquid. All of them were staring at him with anger or disgust. He was the only human in the room. The meeting had been going on for 3 hours. Speaker after speaker stood up to talk about the human problem. They said humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be left alone with advanced technology. Chairman Vrex rose from his seat at the center of the chamber. The crystalline being was 12 feet tall and glowed with inner light. When he spoke, his voice echoed through translation devices that turned his words into every language in the galaxy. "The matter before us today is simple," Vrex announced. "Humanity has grown too powerful too quickly. In just 200 years, they have spread across dozens of star systems. They build weapons we do not understand. They solve problems in ways that make no sense to civilized minds." Jack kept his face blank, but inside he felt tired. This same speech had been given many times before. The aliens feared human creativity and called it chaos. They feared human independence and called it rebellion. "The Zalathi Collective has prepared a proposal," Vrex continued. "I will now call upon Delegate Zex to present their solution." A slug-like creature slithered to the speaking platform. Its skin was covered in slime that sparkled under the chamber lights. When it spoke, the words came out as wet, bubbling sounds that the translators converted to galactic standard. "Fellow beings," Delegate Zex began, "we have watched humanity with growing concern. They refuse to follow proper procedures. They question authority. They innovate without permission. This cannot continue." Jack had heard rumors about what was coming next, but he still felt his stomach tighten as Zex continued. "We propose the following conditions for continued human membership in this council. First, all human military vessels must be placed under Galactic Council oversight. Second, all human research into quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and faster-than-light travel must be supervised by Council-approved scientists. Third, all human colonies beyond their home system must accept Council governors to ensure proper compliance with galactic law." The chamber erupted in clicks, roars, and mechanical sounds as delegates showed their approval. Jack noticed that not every species seemed happy about the proposal, but none spoke against it. Furthermore, Zex continued when the noise died down, "Humanity must surrender all quantum drive technology to the Council for proper distribution among worthy species. This technology is too dangerous to remain in human hands alone." Now Jack understood. This was not about safety or galactic peace. This was about taking away everything that made humanity special. The quantum drives were human inventions that allowed their ships to travel faster and farther than anyone else. Human scientists had shared the basic principles freely, but had kept the most advanced designs for themselves. Vrex called for the vote. One by one, species after species voted to approve the ultimatum. The crystalline beings voted yes. The machine intelligence voted yes. The floating gas creatures voted yes. Even the peaceful tree people of Arborea voted yes. When it was over, 43 species had voted in favor. 3 had abstained. Only the dolphin-like Aquarians had voted against the proposal. "The motion passes," Vrex announced. "Humanity has 30 standard days to comply with these conditions. Failure to do so will result in immediate economic sanctions, followed by military action if necessary." All eyes turned to Jack. The human ambassador stood slowly and looked around the chamber. These beings had worked beside humans for decades. Human engineers had fixed their broken machines. Human doctors had cured their diseases. Human diplomats had prevented wars between their species, and now they wanted to put humans in chains. Jack reached up and removed the small translation device from his ear. The gesture was noticed by every delegate in the chamber. Without the translator, they would not understand his words, but Jack did not care anymore. "The United Earth Federation hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council," he said in clear English. "All diplomatic ties are severed. All trade agreements are void. All communication channels are closed. We will not submit to your oversight, your governors, or your control." Confusion spread through the chamber as delegates tried to understand what the human had said. Some had learned basic English over the years and caught the meaning. Others relied on emergency translation programs that took several seconds to process the words. Jack picked up his briefcase and walked toward the exit. Behind him, his three-person delegation followed without a word. Dr. Lisa Chen, the science advisor, kept her face calm as alien beings shouted questions at her. Security. Chief Mike Torres put his hand near his weapon but did not draw it. Communications Officer Sarah Lopez activated her portable transmitter and began sending coded signals to human ships across the galaxy. The chamber doors slid shut behind them, cutting off the growing chaos inside. In the corridor, Jack finally allowed himself to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had just burned a bridge and felt good about it. "Send the signal," he told Lopez. "Operation Exodus begins now." Within minutes, every human ship, station, and outpost in the galaxy received the same message. The words were simple, but their meaning was clear. Come home. Bring everything. Leave nothing behind. Captain Danny Park, of the exploration vessel. Earth's Hope was investigating strange energy readings near a red giant star when the message arrived. He read it twice to make sure he understood, then called his crew to the bridge. "Change of plans, people," he announced. "We're going home." "Sir?" asked his science officer, a young woman named Kelly Wright. "What about the energy readings? We're on the verge of a major discovery." "Pack it up," Park ordered. "All of it. Every piece of equipment, every data file, every coffee mug with Earth logos on it. If it's human-made, it comes with us." Dr. Helen Foster was working in her laboratory on Research Station Gamma when her assistant burst through the door. The young man's face was pale with shock. "Doctor, we just received an emergency transmission from Earth," he said. "All human personnel are ordered to return home immediately." Helen looked at her life's work spread across the laboratory tables. She had been developing a new medicine that could save millions of alien lives. The research was almost complete. But orders were orders. "Start packing," she told her assistant. "Everything goes into storage containers. We'll finish this work back home." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. Human merchants closed their shops and loaded their goods onto cargo ships. Human teachers said goodbye to alien students and deleted their lesson plans. Human mechanics finished their current repairs and then powered down their workshops. The aliens watched with growing confusion as humans began disappearing from their worlds. At first, they thought it was some kind of negotiating tactic. Surely, the humans would come to their senses and accept the Council's reasonable demands. They did not understand that humans had a saying, "Better to be free than safe." They did not understand that humans would rather walk away from everything than live on their knees. By the end of the first day, half of all human personnel had left their posts. By the end of the week, only a few remained to handle the most critical systems. They worked in silence, training alien replacements who struggled to understand human-designed technology. The replacements asked many questions, but the humans gave short answers. They explained how to operate the equipment, but not how to fix it when it broke. They shared the basic procedures, but not the creative thinking that made those procedures work. When the last human transport ship left Galactic Council space, it carried more than just people. It carried away 2 centuries of human knowledge, innovation, and problem-solving ability. The aliens did not realize what they had lost until it was too late. 6 months had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was starting to understand what silence really meant. On the industrial world of Kepler 442b, Chief Medical Officer Zara clicked her mandibles in frustration. The quantum manufacturing systems, that produced medicine for 12 star systems had been working perfectly for years. Now they were failing one by one, and nobody knew how to fix them. "Where is Engineer Rivera?" she asked her assistant, a young Thorian with blue-scaled skin. "Gone," the assistant replied sadly. "He left with all the other humans 6 months ago. He tried to train us before he left, but the systems are too complex." Zara looked at the massive machines that filled the factory floor. Each one was the size of a building and could create any medicine needed by programming its molecular assemblers. The problem was that the programming required constant adjustments that only humans seemed to understand. Carlos Rivera had been the chief engineer for 15 years. He could make the machines dance. When something went wrong, he would walk around the factory floor, touching different panels and listening to the humming sounds the machines made. Then he would make tiny changes that somehow fixed everything. The Thorian engineers had tried to copy his methods, but they lacked his intuitive understanding. They had the instruction manuals, but the manuals did not explain how to hear what. The machines were trying to say. Production was down to 20% of normal levels. Hospitals across 12 star systems were running out of critical medicines. Children were dying because they could not get the treatments they needed. "Send another message to Earth," Zara ordered. "Offer Engineer Rivera whatever he wants to come back." "We have sent 17 messages," her assistant reminded her. "The humans do not respond to any communications." 3 star systems away, Captain Vex of the Valdorian Trade Federation faced a different crisis. His cargo ship was lost somewhere, in hyperspace, and he had no idea how to get home. The navigation computer showed only static where the course corrections should be. The automatic pilot kept trying to access databases that no longer existed. Every few hours, the ship would drop out of hyperspace in empty space while the computer searched for navigation beacons that had stopped working. How did this happen? Vex asked his navigator, a 6-armed creature named Click. The navigation network was maintained by human technicians, Click explained. They updated the star charts, calibrated the beacons, and wrote the pathfinding algorithms. When they left, they took all their access codes with them. Vex felt a chill run through his scales. The Valdorian Trade Federation controlled commerce across half the galaxy. Their ships carried food, medicine, and raw materials to thousands of worlds. If the ships could not navigate safely, entire planets would starve. "Contact the other captains," he ordered. "Find out how many ships are lost." The answer was worse than he feared. Nearly half the Federation fleet was either lost in hyperspace or stranded at distant ports. The few ships that made it to their destinations safely had human-trained pilots who remembered the old manual navigation techniques. At the Andromeda Research Institute, Dr. Quinzel stared at the screens showing the plague spreading across the Thorian homeworld. The disease had already killed millions of the reptilian beings, and it was getting worse every day. 6 months ago, they had been close to finding a cure. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had been leading a team of the galaxy's best scientists in developing new treatments. Her approach was different from traditional methods. Instead of trying to kill the plague directly, she wanted to strengthen the Thorian immune system so it could fight the disease naturally. The other scientists had thought her ideas were crazy at first, but her preliminary tests had shown amazing results. The cure was maybe weeks away from completion when she received the order to return to Earth. "Can we continue her work without her?" asked Dr. Quinzel's assistant, a floating gas creature that communicated through color changes. "We have tried," Dr. Quinzel replied, but Dr. Rodriguez did not think like us. She saw patterns that we cannot see. She made connections that seem impossible to our minds. The research team had Elena's notes and her computer files. They had recordings of her explaining her theories, but they could not recreate her creative leaps of logic. Without her guiding hand, the research had stalled completely. On the Thorian homeworld, the death toll rose every day. The government had declared martial law to prevent riots. Ships filled with refugees tried to escape to other worlds, but many planets had closed their borders to prevent the plague from spreading. The Galactic Council was facing its own crisis. Without human mediators, old conflicts were erupting into violence across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire and the crystalline hegemony had been fighting over mining rights in the Vega system for 50 years. Every time the conflict heated up, human diplomats would step in and find a solution that both sides could accept. The humans had a talent for seeing compromise where others saw only war. Now the two powers were mobilizing their fleets. The Zephyrians claimed the Crystallines had violated the peace treaty. The Crystallines accused the Zephyrians of stealing resources. Both sides demanded that the Galactic Council support their position. Chairman Vrex tried to mediate the dispute, but his efforts only made things worse. He did not understand the subtle cultural differences that human diplomats had learned over decades of working with both species. "Where is Ambassador Morrison when we need him?" Vrex muttered to his aide, a mechanical being with dozens of spinning sensors. "He has returned to Earth with all other human personnel," the aide reminded him. "According to our intelligence reports, the humans have cut all communication links with the outside galaxy." On Earth, President Katie Walsh stood before the United Earth Federation Council and tried to explain the difficult decision that had changed everything. "The Galactic Council never respected us as equals," she said. "They saw us as useful servants, who could fix their problems and solve their puzzles. But they never wanted us at the table when real decisions were made." The council chamber was packed with representatives from every human world and colony. Many of them had questions about the withdrawal. Some worried that isolation would hurt humanity in the long run. "What about the alien friends we left behind?" asked Councillor Brown from the Mars colonies. The Aquarians voted against the ultimatum. The Arborean tree people tried to stay neutral. "Are we abandoning our allies?" President Walsh nodded sadly. "It was a hard choice, but we could not stay in a system that demanded our submission. The council made it clear that they would never accept us as partners. They wanted us as subjects." "But what about our research projects?" asked Dr. Janet Kim, the head of xenobiology. "We were learning so much from other species. Now all that knowledge is lost." "Not lost," Walsh replied, "postponed. When the galaxy is ready to treat us as equals, we will be ready to rejoin the community. But we will not accept second-class status anymore." The debate continued for hours, but the decision had already been made. Humanity had chosen independence over subjugation. They would face the future alone rather than bow to alien masters. Meanwhile, ships from across the galaxy continued to arrive at the borders of human space. Some carried desperate aliens looking for human expertise. Others brought refugees fleeing the chaos that was spreading through their worlds. Admiral Jake Patterson commanded the defense perimeter from his flagship, the UES Independence. His orders were clear: turn away all visitors, but do not fire unless fired upon. "Another ship approaching, sir," reported his communications officer. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies, claiming to be carrying medical supplies for human colonists." Patterson looked at the scanner display. The ship was Valdorian, probably carrying trade goods rather than medical supplies. It was the 15th ship this week to try the same lie. "Standard response," he ordered. "Inform them that no human colonies require outside assistance. Direct them to leave human space immediately." "Sir, they're asking to speak with a human. Authority. They say they have an urgent message from the Galactic Council." Patterson almost smiled. 6 months ago, the Council had treated human messages with contempt. Now they wanted to talk, but it was too late for conversation. "Tell them we're not interested in their messages," he said. "Human space is closed to all foreign vessels. That includes Council ships." As the alien vessel turned away, Patterson wondered how long it would take for the galaxy to understand. Humans were not coming back. The age of human service to ungrateful masters was over. The silence from Earth was complete, and it was getting louder every day. 1 year after the humans left, the galaxy was falling apart. Captain Rex Dalton had designed the traffic control systems for the great trade route between the core worlds and the outer rim. Every day, thousands of ships passed through the dangerous gravitational fields around collapsed stars and black holes. The route was like a highway through space, but it required constant management to keep ships from crashing into each other. Rex had spent 10 years perfecting the system. He understood how different species flew their ships, how cargo weight affected flight patterns, and how to predict when a pilot would make a mistake. His computers could guide ships safely through hazards that would destroy them in seconds. Now those computers were failing. Trade Captain Blocks sat in his control room on Nexus Station and watched the disaster unfold on his screens. 2 cargo ships had collided near the event horizon of a black hole. Another ship had tried to take a shortcut through an asteroid field and had been torn apart by gravitational forces. "How many ships have we lost this month?" Blocks asked his assistant. 47 destroyed, over 200 damaged, came the reply. "The insurance companies are refusing to cover any more runs through the hazard zones." Blocks clicked his claws together nervously. The great trade route carried food and medicine to billions of beings across the galaxy. If ships stopped running the route, entire star systems would face starvation. "Contact the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Tell them we need human technicians back immediately." "Sir, the humans still refuse all communication. We have tried every channel, even sent messages through the Aquarians who are still friendly with Earth. The humans will not respond." 3 systems away, Agricultural Director Zenta faced an even worse crisis. The farming world of New Eden fed 17 billion beings across 4 star systems. The planet's terraforming systems had been working perfectly for decades, but now they were breaking down one by one. The atmospheric processors that maintained the air mixture were running at only 60% efficiency. The weather control satellites were producing storms instead of gentle rains. The soil treatment facilities were releasing chemicals that killed crops instead of helping them grow. Ben Clark had been the chief engineer for the terraforming project. He understood the delicate balance needed to keep an artificial ecosystem stable. When problems arose, he could adjust thousands of variables in ways that seemed like magic to other engineers. Before he left, Ben had tried to train the alien staff. He had given them detailed manuals and computer programs that automated most of the work. But terraforming was more art than science, and the alien engineers lacked the creative thinking needed to solve unexpected problems. "The wheat harvest will fail completely," reported Agricultural Supervisor Tema, her green skin showing stress patterns. "We are already rationing food supplies, but it will not be enough." "What about the backup systems?" Zenta asked. Ben Clark. "Design those too. They require constant adjustments that our engineers cannot make. We are learning, but learning takes time. People will starve while we figure out what the humans knew by instinct." In the financial center of Rigel Prime, banking, Director Voss faced a crisis that threatened the entire galactic economy. The quantum encryption systems that secured all financial transactions were breaking down. Dr. Sophie Turner had developed the mathematical algorithms that made secure banking possible across interstellar distances. Her equations were so complex that even quantum computers took hours to break them. This made financial fraud nearly impossible and allowed trade to flourish between species that had never trusted each other. But the encryption systems needed constant updates as quantum computers became more powerful. Sophie had released new security patches every few months, staying ahead of potential hackers and fraudsters. She had been gone for a year now, and the last security update was wearing thin. Another bank was robbed electronically, Voss reported to his board of directors. The Centauri Credit Union lost 50 million credits to hackers who broke their encryption. That makes 12 successful attacks this month. "Can our mathematicians not update the security systems?" asked board member Crix, his mechanical voice showing no emotion. "They try, but Dr. Turner's mathematics are beyond our understanding. She thought in ways that our minds cannot follow." We have hired the best experts from every species, but none of them can match her insights. The result was predictable. As banks failed and currencies became worthless, trade between star systems slowed to a crawl. Planets that depended on imports faced shortages of everything from food to fuel. The worst crisis came when the early warning system for cosmic threats went dark. The Solar Observatory Network had been run entirely by human scientists who tracked asteroids, radiation bursts, and other dangers that could destroy entire worlds. Dr. Amy Stone had been the director of the network for 12 years. Her team monitored thousands of objects in space, predicting their paths and warning planets when danger approached. They had saved countless lives by giving advance notice of cosmic disasters. When the humans left, they took their knowledge with them. The alien scientists who took over the observatories had the equipment, but not the experience to interpret what they saw. The first disaster struck the mining world of Kepler 186f. A radiation burst from a distant star hit the planet with no warning. The miners working on the surface were caught in the open when deadly radiation swept across the planet. Thousands died in minutes, and thousands more suffered radiation poisoning that would kill them slowly. Why did we not detect this threat? Demanded Planetary Governor Chen, his crystalline body flashing angry red. The signs were there, admitted Chief Astronomer Vec, but we did not recognize them. Dr. Stone would have seen the pattern days before the burst occurred. She had an intuitive understanding of stellar behavior that we lack. Similar disasters struck across the galaxy. Asteroid impacts destroyed cities that should have been evacuated. Solar flares knocked out power grids without warning. Comet fragments contaminated water supplies on agricultural worlds. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions every day, but Chairman Vrex could do nothing except watch his authority crumble. Member species were withdrawing from mutual defense agreements and hoarding resources for their own survival. The humans must be made to return, declared War Chief Grendel of the Talon Consortium. They are responsible for this chaos. They deliberately sabotaged our systems before they left. The humans sabotaged nothing, replied Delegate Aqua of the peaceful ocean world. They simply took their knowledge with them when we told them they were not welcome. We drove them away with our arrogance. Silence, Vrex commanded, his crystalline form glowing brighter with anger. Fighting among ourselves will solve nothing. We must find a way to contact Earth and negotiate their return. But every attempt at communication was ignored. Human space had become a black hole of silence. Ships that approached the borders of or human territory were turned away by patrol vessels that would not even acknowledge hail attempts. Admiral Jake Patterson continued to command the defensive perimeter around human space. His ships detected dozens of alien vessels every day, many of them carrying desperate refugees or trade delegations hoping to negotiate private deals. Another distress call, sir, reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. A Valdorian cargo. Ship lost in hyperspace. They are requesting navigation assistance. Patterson looked at the scanner display showing the ship's location. It was drifting in empty space, its crew probably terrified and running low on supplies. 6 months ago, he would have sent a rescue ship without hesitation. Log the distress call, but take no action, he ordered. Our orders are clear. No assistance to alien vessels. Sir, there are families on that ship. Children. Patterson felt the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. He did not enjoy turning away people in need, but the alternative was worse. If humans responded to every crisis, they would never learn to solve their own problems. The galaxy made its choice, he said quietly. They wanted us gone. Now they have what they asked for. On Earth, President Walsh met with her advisors to review intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The news was uniformly bad. Civilizations were collapsing, economies were failing, and billions of beings faced hunger and disease. Our people think we should help, reported Intelligence Director Frank Cole. They say we are being cruel by refusing aid to suffering populations. And if we help now? Walsh asked. What happens when the next crisis comes? The aliens will expect us to solve their problems again. They will never learn to stand on their own feet. The suffering is real, insisted Dr. Maria Santos, the former head of Galactic Engineering Projects. People are dying because systems I designed are failing. I could fix them in days if allowed to return. Walsh nodded sadly. I know, but if you fix those systems, who will maintain them when you retire? The aliens had decades to learn human methods, but they preferred to let us do the work while they took credit for the results. The debate continued for hours, but the policy remained unchanged. Humanity would not return to its role as servants to ungrateful masters. The galaxy would have to learn to solve its own problems, no matter how much pain the learning process caused. In the depths of space, alien ships continued to search for ways around the human blockade. Some carried scientists hoping to steal Huma. 18 months after the humans left, desperation was driving the galaxy to madness. Dr. Hexia stood in the medical center on Zelos Prime and watched her patients die. The viral outbreak had started small, just a few cases in the outer colonies. Now it was spreading across the entire Zelosian Republic, killing thousands every day. The Zelosians were proud of their medical technology. They had cured diseases that plagued other species for centuries. Their hospitals were the most advanced in the galaxy, filled with machines that could fix almost any injury or illness. But this virus was different. It changed too quickly for traditional treatments to work. Every time they developed a cure, the virus mutated into something new. They needed someone who could think faster than the virus evolved. They needed Dr. Rachel Wright. Rachel had been the head of immunology at the Galactic Medical Institute. Her approach to fighting disease was completely different from standard methods. Instead of trying to kill viruses directly, she worked to strengthen immune systems so they could adapt to new threats. Other doctors called her methods unscientific. They said she relied too much on intuition and not enough on proven techniques, but her success rate was undeniable. She had stopped 3 major pandemics and saved millions of lives. Send another message to Earth, Dr. Hexia ordered her assistant. Offer Dr. Wright anything she wants, money, research facilities, her own planet if necessary. We have sent dozens of messages, the assistant replied. The humans do not answer. Our communications are blocked at the border of their space. Dr. Hexia looked at the screens showing infection rates across her world. The virus was winning, and her people were running out of time. On the industrial moon of Titan 7, production manager Quarks faced a different kind of crisis. The automated mining systems that extracted rare minerals were shutting down one by one. Without those minerals, the high-tech worlds could not build the computers and machinery they needed to survive. Dr. Alan Foster had designed the artificial intelligence systems that controlled the mining operations. The AI could adjust to changing conditions in the mines, finding new deposits when old ones ran out and avoiding dangerous areas where cave-ins might occur. But the AI systems needed constant fine-tuning. Alan had spent years teaching them how to think, showing them patterns in geological data that no other engineer could see. His machines learned like children, growing smarter and more capable under his guidance. When Alan left, he had tried to train alien replacements, but the aliens could not communicate with the machines the way he did. They followed procedures and protocols, while the machines needed creative problem-solving. Production is down to 15% of normal levels, Quarks reported to his supervisors. The machines are making mistakes that Dr. Foster would have prevented. Yesterday, Mining Unit 7 tried to dig through a gas pocket and caused an explosion that killed 12 workers. Can we not simply replace the human-designed systems? Asked Supervisor Vex. We have tried. But the machines are integrated into every aspect of the mining operation. Replacing them would take years and cost more than we can afford. Without the rare minerals we produce, half the galaxy's technology will stop working. The most critical, Crisis was developing in the transportation network that connected the galaxy. The ancient Nexus gates allowed ships to travel instantly between star systems, but they required maintenance that only human engineers understood. Maria Santos had spent 20 years studying the gate technology. The gates were built by an ancient race that had vanished millions of years ago, leaving behind machines that still worked, but with no instruction manual. Maria had figured out how to keep them running through careful observation and creative experimentation. Now the gates were starting to fail. Gatekeeper Trin watched his control screens with growing alarm. The gate in his system was producing unstable wormholes that twisted ships apart instead of transporting them safely. 3 ships had been destroyed this week when they tried to use the gate. "We need Maria Santos," he told his engineering team. "No one else understands how the gates work." "The humans refuse all contact," his chief engineer reminded him. "They will not even acknowledge our distress signals." Trin felt despair settle over him like a heavy blanket. Without the gates, interstellar civilization would collapse completely. Ships would take months or years to travel between systems instead of minutes. Trade would become impossible. Colonies would be cut off from their home worlds. As systems failed across the galaxy, some species decided to take desperate action. The militant Talon Consortium blamed humans for deliberately sabotaging galactic civilization. They began organizing raids into human space, claiming they were recovering stolen technology. War Chief Grendel addressed his fleet commanders from the bridge of his flagship. The massive warrior was covered in battle scars, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had never lost a fight. "The humans think they can hide behind their borders while the galaxy burns," he declared. "They are wrong. We will take what we need from them, and they will learn the price of defying the Talon Consortium." The first raid was a disaster. 5 Talon warships approached the human border expecting to overwhelm a few patrol vessels. Instead, they encountered defenses that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Captain Danny Park commanded one of the human patrol ships that responded to the incursion. His vessel was smaller than any of the Talon warships, but it was equipped with technology that no alien species had ever seen. "Hostile vessels, you are violating human space," Park broadcast on all frequencies. "Turn back immediately or face the consequences." War Chief Grendel laughed when he heard the warning. "One small ship against 5 battle cruisers? The humans have become even more arrogant than before." "Open fire," he commanded. The Talon ships launched missiles and energy beams at the human patrol vessel. Their weapons were powerful enough to destroy a space station, but they had no effect on their target. The human ships seemed to absorb the attacks without taking any damage. "Impossible," muttered Grendel's tactical officer. "Our weapons should have vaporized that ship." Park's response was swift and devastating. Energy beams erupted from his ship, but they were unlike anything the aliens had seen before. The beams passed through the Talon shields as if they did not exist and struck the enemy hulls with surgical precision. One by one, the Talon warships lost power and drifted helplessly in space. Their weapons were disabled, their engines were dead, but their life support systems remained intact. The human ship had neutralized 5 battle cruisers without killing a single crew member. "This is impossible," Grendel whispered. "No technology should be this advanced." Park opened a communication channel to the disabled ships. "You have been warned. Return to your space and do not approach human borders again. Next time, we will not be so gentle." The Talon ships were towed back to their territory by rescue vessels, their crews traumatized by the encounter. Word of the defeat spread quickly, through alien space, causing shock and confusion among species that had thought they understood human capabilities. Multiple species began sending secret envoys to human space, hoping to negotiate private deals. They offered wealth, territory, even military alliances in exchange for technical assistance. All of these offers were politely but firmly declined. Ambassador Jack Morrison, now serving as Director of External Affairs, met with some of these. envoys in neutral space. His responses were always the same. Humanity is not interested in piecemeal agreements, he told a delegation from the Centauri Alliance. We will not return to our old role as problem solvers for hire. If the galaxy wants human assistance, it must offer genuine partnership and equality. But our people are dying, pleaded the Centauri ambassador. Surely you cannot ignore suffering on such a scale. Morrison felt the weight of millions of lives on his conscience, but his resolve did not waver. The suffering is real and tragic, but it is also the natural consequence of the galaxy's choice to reject human participation. You wanted us gone, and now you have what you asked for. The meetings always ended the same way, with alien diplomats leaving empty-handed and more desperate than before. Meanwhile, xenophobic factions within several alien governments gained power by blaming humans for the crisis. They claimed that humans had deliberately sabotaged galactic civilization as revenge for being asked to accept reasonable oversight. These factions ignored the fact that humans had made no hostile moves against alien worlds. They had simply withdrawn and taken their knowledge with them. But fear and desperation made people willing to believe comfortable lies instead of uncomfortable truths. President Walsh received daily reports about the growing chaos in alien space. The temptation to help was strong, especially when the reports showed children dying from diseases that human doctors could easily cure. Our isolation is working, reported Defense Secretary Brown during a cabinet meeting. The aliens are finally understanding how much they depended on us, but the cost in alien lives is enormous. That cost was their choice to pay, Walsh replied, firmly. We offered partnership, and they demanded submission. We cannot save people who refuse to treat us as equals. But what if they change their minds? Asked Secretary of Science Lisa Chen. What if they offer us the PA? Admiral Patterson stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the latest intelligence reports. The galaxy that had once threatened humanity with military action was now barely capable of maintaining basic civilization. Any regrets, sir? Asked his communications officer. Patterson thought about the question carefully. Regret for the suffering? Yes. Regret for our decision? No. Sometimes the only way to teach respect is to show what happens without it. The great experiment was over. Humanity had proved that they were not servants or subjects, but partners who demanded to be treated as equals. The galaxy had learned what silence sounded like when the ones who fixed everything simply walked away. Some bridges could be rebuilt, but only with mutual respect as the foundation. Until the galaxy was ready to offer that respect,